we highly recommend checking out Mindful Moments.
Absolutely.
It's like a personal pocket philosopher offering bite-sized insights from great thinkers delivered through the magic of AI narration.
It's a great resource.
It's perfect for those moments when you need a little mental nourishment on the go.
We always hear that, happiness is a choice, right? Like if you just think positive, life will be better. But I don't know, sometimes I wonder if we're so busy looking on the bright side, we miss something. Like maybe there are other ways to look at things, even tough stuff, and maybe those can help us understand things better.
Yeah, it's interesting, that whole focus on positivity. Sometimes it can feel a little, I don't know, fake. Like we're not really dealing with the hard things. So looking at things from a different angle, one that's not all sunshine and rainbows, can really make you think.
That's a good point. And that's actually what we're doing in this deep dive. We're going to look at some excerpts from Albert Camus's book, The Stranger. It's about this guy, and he doesn't really react the way you'd expect to some pretty major things that happen, starting with, his mom dying.
It's pretty intense, and it definitely makes you question a lot of stuff, like what's the right way to feel? Does everyone experience grief the same way? And do we always have to find some big meaning in everything that happens?
Right. There are a lot of questions. So the book starts in this mortuary, right? It's all bright and clean. There is a coffin, a nurse in a blue uniform. And right away, the way the main character acts is, well, it's odd. The nurse asks him if he wants to see his mom one last time, and he's just like, I can't really say.
It's like he's totally detached. And that right there throws everything we think we know about grief out the window. It's
Yeah.
like, does being sad always have to be a big show?
Yeah, it's really strange. And then when we get to the visual and his mom's friends come in, he notices all these little things about them, like their clothes, their aprons. Some are really thin, some have these big bellies. But he keeps looking at their faces. He sees all the wrinkles, and he can't figure out if they're trying to say hi or if that's just how their faces look because they're old. He even thinks for a second that maybe they're there to judge him.
Wow, he's already feeling isolated. And this is supposed to be, a time for people to come together and support each other. But he's just not connecting with any of it. Like he doesn't know how to fit in with what everyone expects.
Exactly. And then get this, he starts hearing these weird wheezing noises. Turns out it's the old guys sucking on their cheeks or something. They're totally lost in their own thoughts, and it's like his mom's body right there in the room doesn't even matter to them. So they have some coffee, the night goes on. At one point he wakes up and catches one of the old guys staring at him. And then morning comes and his legs are all cramped up.
It's so bizarre. Like, here's death, this huge, serious thing, and they're acting like it's just another day. And then you have the main character who's also not reacting in a typical way. It all just points to how absurd, how meaningless some of these rituals can feel.
So the next morning, he's exhausted, the sun's coming up, it's beautiful, but all he can think about is how much he'd rather be out for a walk if it wasn't for, his mom being dead. And then he thinks about all the people going to work, how much he hates that part of the day. It's like even without his mom's death, he's just not happy. And then the warden tells him about this guy, Thomas Perez, who was really good friends with his mom. He wants to come to the funeral, and he's really upset, obviously. The warden even tells this whole story about how close they were, how people used to tease them that they were going to get buried. It was like a running joke for years.
Oh, wow. So you have this really touching story about Perez and his mom's friendship, this deep connection. And then you have the main character who's basically just going through the motions. It really shows you how differently they experience the world, how differently they deal with their feelings.
Absolutely. So Perez shows up, and he's, I don't know, kind of a funny looking guy. His clothes don't really fit right. And he's got these huge red ears that stick out. So the funeral procession starts, and the main character's looking at everything, the trees, the red dirt, the houses in the distance. And he remembers how much his mom loved being there in the evening, how peaceful it felt. But now, with the sun so bright, it just feels, I don't know, empty and harsh. And then there's Perez trying to keep up, taking these little shortcuts. He's really struggling.
It's like they're both experiencing the same things, but they see them so differently. For Perez, it's all about loss and sadness.
Yeah.
But for the main character, it's all just like physical sensations, the heat, the colors, the shapes. And then you have poor Perez, all out of breath and sweaty.
And then this weird thing happens. The nurse starts talking, which is kind of surprising because she's been so quiet the whole time. And her voice is really soft and shaky. It doesn't match her at all. She starts giving them all this advice about walking too slow or too fast, how it can make you sick. And the main character just thinks, well, either way, you're going to get it right. What's the point of worrying about it?
That's so interesting. It's like she's trying to be helpful, but it comes across as so detached. And then his reaction that you're going to get it attitude, it's like he's already given up on trying to control anything. He's just accepting whatever comes his way.
The day after the funeral, he's totally wiped out and decides to go for a swim. He goes to this pool by the harbor, and he runs into Marie Cardona, this woman he used to work with. He liked her, and they start getting kind of physical right away. He helps her onto a raft, and his hand ends up on her, chest. They hang out on the raft for a while, then they swim and laugh together. Later, she notices he's still wearing his black tie and asks if he's in mourning. He tells her about his mom, and she doesn't really say anything, but she kind of moves away from him. And he almost feels bad, even though he doesn't think he did anything wrong.
That's such a quick jump, right?
Yeah.
From burying his mom to, like, making out with this woman. And then he just casually mentions his mom's death, like it's no big deal. But that little bit of guilt, it shows that somewhere deep down, he knows he's not acting the way people expect him to.
It's like he knows there's a right way to feel, but he just can't get there. So Sunday rolls around, and he's alone in his apartment, which feels way too big now. He's even moved his dining table into his bedroom because that's the only room he uses. He hears streetcars coming back from a soccer game and shouts something to one of the players, who shouts back. Then it gets dark, street lights come on, the stars disappear, the street empties out except for a cat running across. He eats dinner, bread and spaghetti, standing up, and he thinks about how he's made it through another Sunday. It's just another day, really.
There's so much loneliness in that description. His whole life feels empty and routine. He's just going through the motions. Even his meals are just fuel. And that little interaction with a soccer player is like this tiny moment of connection in this sea of isolation.
Monday comes. Back to work. Same old routine. He washes his hands, and he really enjoys that. His boss complains about the wet towel, but he doesn't care. He's just happy for a minute. Later, he and his coworker, Emmanuel, see a truck and decide to chase it. They run and jump on, just for the fun of it. Back at his building, he sees his neighbors. There's this old guy, Salamano, who's always yelling at his dog, dragging it around, hitting it. It's kind of sad.
Okay.
And then there's Raymond Sintez. People think he's a pimp, but he says he works in a warehouse. He likes to talk to the main character, and the main character finds him interesting.
It's like he's surrounded by all these messy relationships, these complicated lives. You have Salamano and his dog, this constant back and forth of anger and maybe affection. And then Raymond, who might be involved in some shady stuff, it's like a backdrop to his own life, which seems so empty in comparison.
Yeah, it's like he's observing everyone else's drama from a distance. So one night, Raymond invites him over for dinner, and he says yes, because it means he doesn't have to cook. Raymond's room is a disaster. There's this plaster angel statue, pictures of athletes and naked women, a messy bed, and everything's covered in dirt. Raymond's hand is bandaged up because he got into a fight. He says the other guy was asking for it. They eat, and Raymond starts telling the story about his girlfriend, how he thinks she cheated on him because of a lottery ticket and some jewelry she pawned. He says he beat her up. At first, he wanted to get the cops involved, maybe get her in trouble for being a prostitute, but now he wants to do something else. He asks the main character to help him write a letter to her.
Whoa, that escalated quickly. So we've got violence, betrayal, and now manipulation. And the main character is just listening to it all, like it's just another story.
Yeah.
But then he agrees to help with the letter, even though it's pretty messed up. It shows how passive he is, how easily he goes along with whatever someone else wants.
They end up writing the letter in Raymond's gross room, using this old pen and purple ink. The main character doesn't really put much effort into it, but he wants to make Raymond happy. And Raymond is thrilled. He calls them pals. After dinner, he tries to say something nice about the main character's mom, which the main character appreciates, even though it's awkward. They shake hands, and then the main character goes home. He's standing in the hallway, and it's dark and quiet, except for Salamano's dog whining. Later that night, the cops show up because there's a commotion in Raymond's room. They're yelling at him for smoking while they're talking to him.
It's like this cycle of dysfunction, Raymond causes trouble, the cops come, it's all chaos. And then you have the main character standing there in the dark, just listening to it all.
Yeah. A few days later, Salamano is freaking out because he can't find his dog. He's lost it. Raymond tries to reassure him, telling him dogs usually find their way home, but Salamano is worried the cops will take his dog because it's got all these sores on its skin. The main character tells him about the pound, and Salamano is furious at first about having to pay to get his dog back. But later, when he finds out they keep the dogs for 3 days, he starts pacing and crying. It's pretty intense. The next day, the main character's boss offers him a promotion. He'd have to move to Paris. He's not really that interested, but he says he doesn't think people ever really change their lives. This upsets his boss, who says he lacks ambition.
It's so fascinating. You have Salamana, who's practically heartbroken over this dog that he mistreats all the time,
Mhm.
and then the main character, who just lost his mom.
Right.
But he's totally calm about it. He's not even interested in this amazing opportunity. It's like he's content with his simple, predictable life, even if it's not exactly happy.
It's like he's afraid of anything that might disrupt his routine. So Marie comes to visit and jokes about what he's doing that night. He ends up eating alone at this restaurant, Celeste's. While he's there, he sees this strange woman who he calls the robot woman. She's super methodical about everything. She calculates her bill before she even orders, and she carefully marks up her radio magazine. He watches her for a bit, finds her interesting, but then forgets all about her. When he gets home, Salamano is back. He's still talking about his dog, but he keeps contradicting himself. One minute he calls it a mean, nasty animal, and the next he's saying it's a good dog. He tells the main character about how he's been trying to treat its skin problems, but he thinks the real issue is just that the dog is old. Then he says, your poor mother, like he's feeling sorry for the main character. But then he awkwardly mentions some rumors about the main character sending his mom to a nursing home.
It's like everyone else is carrying all this emotional baggage, but he's just floating through it all.
Mhm.
And that robot woman, that's another example of how he's drawn to anything out of the ordinary, anything that breaks the monotony. He's like an observer, not really a participant.
Yeah, it's like he's watching a play, not living his own life. So Sunday morning, he wakes up with Marie. They're planning to go swimming. He's got a bit of a headache, and Marie tells him he looks like he's in mourning. He tells her about Raymond's problem with these guys, these Arabs. Marie's worried and wants to leave. They take a bus with Raymond to a beach near Algiers. It's a pretty harsh landscape. They meet Raymond's friend, Masson, and his wife at their bungalow. They have lunch together. Marie is surprised by how early it is, but Masson wants to go for a walk after lunch because his wife always takes a nap.
Here we go. Things are starting to feel, I don't know, ominous, like the mood is shifting. And that description of the landscape, all rough and unforgiving, it's like a hint of what's to come.
Right, like something bad is about to happen. So they're walking on the beach, and it's deserted and hot. Masson asks how the Arabs found them, and Raymond says he's ready to fight if they show up. The heat gets worse and worse. Finally, they run into the Arabs, and a fight breaks out. Raymond and Masson hit the Arabs, and everyone's yelling. Later, Raymond comes back with his arm bandaged up. He's in a bad mood and says he wants to go for another walk, alone. The main character follows him. They find one of the Arabs by a stream. There's a lot of tension, and Raymond gives the main character his gun. The sun is blazing hot, and the main character feels really uncomfortable. He starts walking towards some big rocks, wishing he could get to the cool water. And then he sees the Arab lying down. The sun's reflecting off the knife the Arab is holding.
Oh man, the tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife, literally. It's like everything's leading up to this moment. The heat, the fight, the gun, it's all about to explode.
And then boom, he shoots the Arab.
Yeah.
Once, and then, I don't know, it's like something takes over and he shoots 4 more times.
That's it. That's the turning point. Everything changes from this moment on. He's crossed the line, and there's no going back.
He's arrested and taken to the police station. His lawyer isn't there at first, so he's questioned by this magistrate. The magistrate is polite, but he keeps asking why the main character shot the Arab, especially why he kept shooting. He even shows him a crucifix. Later, when his lawyer shows up, the questions are all about the legal stuff. The magistrate doesn't seem interested in the religion angle anymore. It all feels very formal and friendly, like the main character is part of the group. But then he gets a letter saying Marie can't visit anymore. That's when he realizes that his cell is his new home, and it's not going to change.
It's like society's trying to understand him, to fit him into a box, but he doesn't fit. And then when Marie's visits stop, he's completely cut off. He's alone with his thoughts and his actions.
At first, he's in a cell with some Arab prisoners, but they move him. He keeps thinking like he's still free, and it drives him crazy. He misses simple things like swimming. He tries to cope by remembering things, especially women. He forces himself to stop smoking. He starts memorizing every detail of his cell like he's trying to hold on to something real. He realizes that one day can hold enough memories for years. He starts sleeping a lot. He reads a story in the newspaper about this Czech guy who was murdered by his family after he came home rich. He thinks the guy was stupid, like he was asking for it. His sense of time gets all messed up.
It's like he's adapting to this new reality, this prison life. But his way of thinking is still so different. He doesn't see things the way other people do. And that Czech story, it's like another example of how he views the world. He sees betrayal and violence everywhere, and he thinks people brought on themselves.
The day of the trial arrives, and it's like a circus. The courtroom is packed with people. Everyone's staring at him, trying to figure out if he's a criminal. He asks the guard why there are so many people, and the guard just says it's because of the newspapers. They call all the witnesses: Raymond, Masson, Salamano, the doorkeeper from his building, Perez, Marie, who looks really nervous, Celeste from the restaurant, and even that robot woman. The warden from the nursing home talks about how the main character's mom complained about him. Masson tries to say good things about him, but no one really pays attention. Same with Salamano. Raymond tells his story about the fight, and Marie talks about their relationship after his mom died. She starts crying. The prosecutor keeps saying that the main character shows no remorse, that he didn't care when his mom died, and that's why he killed the Arab.
It's like they're putting him on trial for more than just the murder. They're judging his whole way of being, his lack of emotion, his inability to fit into their expectations, and they're using his mom's death against him, even though it's not directly related to the crime.
The prosecutor keeps talking about his soul, like he's some kind of monster. The main character feels overwhelmed by everything, by the heat, by all the people. He says he didn't mean to kill the Arab, but it doesn't really matter. His lawyer tries to say he's a good guy who just lost control, but it doesn't work. The jury goes out to decide, and when they come back, they say he's guilty. He's sentenced to death by guillotine. He thinks he sees a look of pity in some people's eyes.
Wow. They've condemned him, not just for the act itself, but for who he is, how he sees the world. It's a pretty powerful statement about how society deals with people who don't conform.
So now he's on death row, waiting for his execution. He keeps refusing to see the prison chaplain. He's obsessed with finding some kind of legal loophole that will get him out of this. They move him to a new cell, and now he can see the sky. He starts fantasizing about escaping, and he wishes he had paid more attention to stories about executions. He doesn't understand how he can be killed for something he didn't plan, how the punishment can be so much bigger than the crime. He has this crazy idea about making new laws that would give criminals a chance, a roll of the dice to decide their fate. He starts thinking about the guillotine differently. It's just a simple machine, not some dramatic spectacle. He tries not to think about Dawn, about his appeal, about the fact that this might be his last night. But then he lets himself hope for a second that the appeal will work, and it feels amazing. He has to calm himself down. He tells the chaplain to leave him alone again. He thinks about Marie.
It's like he's going through all these stages of grief, but for his own life. Denial, anger, bargaining, and that little glimmer of hope. It's so heartbreaking because you know it's not going to last.
The chaplain won't give up. He keeps coming back, trying to talk about religion. He says all men are under a sentence of death, but the main character says it's not the same for him. He doesn't find any comfort in that. The chaplain gets more and more agitated. The main character starts paying attention, not to what the chaplain is saying, but to how upset he is. The chaplain keeps pushing, saying the main character needs to be saved, but the main character explodes. He yells at the chaplain, asking him what the point of anyone's feelings is if he's just going to die anyway. He screams until he can't breathe. The guards come and take the chaplain away. Finally, he's alone and feels calm. He falls asleep and wakes up in the middle of the night. It's peaceful. He suddenly understands why his mom got engaged to that guy at the nursing home. She was ready for a new start, even though she was dying. He feels like he could start his life over too, and he accepts that the universe doesn't care about him one way or the other.
It's a strange kind of peace he finds, isn't it? Rejecting everything society has tried to impose on him, all the rules and expectations. He finds freedom in the meaninglessness of it all.
So, wow. We just went on a wild ride with this character. He's so detached, so unemotional. He doesn't react to anything the way we'd expect. But then at the very end, he finds this, I don't know, acceptance. What do you make of all this? Does his perspective, his way of seeing the world make you think about things differently?
It definitely makes you question what's normal, right? Maybe there's more than one way to experience life, more than one way to deal with loss and grief. Maybe finding peace means letting go of the need for everything to make sense.
It's a lot to think about. If you're interested in exploring these kinds of ideas further, you might want to check out Mindful Moments on YouTube. It's this cool channel that uses AI to analyze audiobooks and looks at the psychology of characters like the one we just talked about. It's pretty fascinating.
That sounds like it.
And if you found this deep dive into The Stranger interesting, make sure to subscribe and share it with anyone you think might get something out of it. We'll put a link to buy the book in the show notes so you can read the whole thing and get the full context. And as always, think critically about everything you hear, whether it's from us or anyone else. Thanks for listening.